Hey, everybody. Thank you so much again for tuning in for another episode of the True West podcast. Today, we're going to be dealing with some really heavy subjects. So before we get started, I want to give you a chance to understand what we're diving into. We're going to be talking about subjects like abuse, rape, drug use, sex trafficking. And I know that these can be really hard subjects for a lot of you out there, and there might be some triggers. So I want to give you the opportunity to take care of yourself and to turn the episode off if you're feeling like this is something that is going to affect you in a negative way. But there's some really powerful information in here. So if you or someone you know is struggling with abuse or with sex trafficking, or you know something that's going on, please reach out to the organizations that are out there. You can reach out to the human trafficking hotline. That phone number is 888-373-7888, or you can visit them at humantraffickinghotline.org. Again, thanks for tuning in to the True West podcast.
Thanks for joining the True West podcast with David Fischette, where David sits down with business leaders, artists, creatives, and champions of humanity to discuss their explorer's spirit. If your true north is your sense of purpose that drives you each day and that thing you'll be remembered for long after you're gone, we believe that your true west is your sense of adventure, your curiosity, and the thing that makes you turn your back to the sunrise and head into uncharted territories. You'll hear stories of tenacity and courage that live inside each of us to follow our own path into the future we desire. We hope that you will be inspired to follow your true west today.
It's a very special episode of the True West podcast coming to you on a beautiful spring day here in Franklin, Tennessee. My guest today has been somebody that has truly touched my heart and impacted my life in such a poignant and important way since I've moved to Nashville. She is the CEO and founder of Nashville Peacemakers and a group called Moms Over Murder. My guest today is Clemmie Greenlee. Clemmie, thanks for being here.
Oh my God, thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
Excited.
Of course. You know, I know you're an avid fan of my podcast and you've listened to all the episodes.
Yeah.
Just kidding. You've never heard it. I know. She's like, you have a podcast? All right. So this podcast, we talk about what we will refer to as your true west, right? So if your true north in your life is your purpose in life and the thing that gets you up each morning, the thing you'll be remembered by, we say that your true west is your sense of exploration and adventure and curiosity. And what I like to talk to people about on this show is times in their life when they were met with a roadblock or hit a wall or something that seemed insurmountable, and they had to use their creativity, their strength, their gumption to find a way around it. And for most of my guests, they can look to one or two moments in their life. But it feels like your whole life has been True West moments. Your whole life has been just a series of True West moments and series of walls and things that you have had to kick down, climb over, go around, or forge your own path. So I'm really excited to dive into today. So as we were talking before we started, you are a native Nashvilleian.
Yes.
Right. So how has Nashville changed in the 20 to 30 years since you were a little girl?
Well, first of all, a lot of buildings. Growing up, it was really just horses, chickens, mules, cows, and red dirt, especially down here in Franklin and Bellevue. And now it's New York, California.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
So it's just kind of weird as I pass certain neighborhoods and certain streets now. And I go on purpose because I lived with my grandmama most of my younger years, and And she lived on top of a hill that had nothing but animals and gardens. And we had to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning to go out and feed the chickens and the hogs and get the tomatoes and onions out of the garden and put them big buckets on your shoulder to go down in the spring to get the water and tote it back up. Wow. In that hot heat. And
that's seriously a movie.
Yeah.
That's a scene from a movie right there.
And you know, I think me and my brother, we used to cry a lot because number one, the buckets of water was heavy. Right. Number two, you're going down this steep hill and you got to come back up the hill with the buckets. But if you didn't make it back to the house with that bucket, with that water still almost to the top, you get a butt whooping. You know, we call it the other word with the A.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got to practice it where we was not letting that water go.
Right, slosh around. Yeah.
Yeah. And I caught on pretty good first. Right. Before my brother and them did, because I was really tired of them. I don't even want to call them whooping. They was beatings. And so. And
how many times would you have to go down the hill and back up each day? Was it just once a day?
I don't know. It was at least 3 times a day because we didn't have running water. So you had the outside bathroom. So I didn't know nothing about the city stuff. And so us taking baths, you have to cook with that and all that. So you got to go 3 days a week down there. And we didn't have lights, so you had to get lamps. So you had to get that kerosene oil. And I almost started a fire with that because I knocked over a lamp. So it was like, I don't know what other world was out here like I do now. And I kind of wish in a way that I kind of stayed in that locked in world with the going to get the water, feed the chickens and the pigs. Because once my mother met my father was the city slicker. That's what I call him. He was the city slicker that came to the country and comes to little juke joints. And he would pick out, you know, girls or girlfriends. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. That's what I always told him.
I know that song.
Yeah. And yeah. So I think he spotted my mom. I don't know whether he spotted her in a juke joint or where they was at, or maybe a gathering. And he laid eyes on her. And when he laid eyes on her, that commenced of us getting a trip to the city. And that was the most terrible day of my life because.
And how old are you at this point?
Oh, I'm probably about 5, 6. And so for him to introduce us to the city life, that allowed my mom to move here. And I remember our first set of projects was, I was 5, 6, because that's where all the fast stuff started happening for us. You know, the light switch, the flushing of the commode, the music playing. All of this was like an alien to me.
Right.
And then that's when I came introduced to men that runs around in your rooms and around you that had dirty ideals in their minds about little old girls. So that's kind of like where all of that started for me. And I always say, I want to go back home to my grandmother.
Right. So
even though she was mean.
Right. Mean but safe, right?
Mean but safe.
Right. So you're 5 years old, and that's the first time man did something inappropriate.
Oh, yeah. We was living in projects. I never forget it. We called it South 8 Court. South 8 Court is still there, but they done built condominiums, tall and skinnies now. So, and it was my father's drunk buddies, his friends that come over on weekends. And I think my mom and my dad stayed more into the alcohol bottle than they were into us. I know they loved us, but I always say she didn't know how to protect us. So I always tell them when me and my sisters and them, when it's time for our bath, we don't have the little rubber duck thing. We have the dirty old men's and they fingers. And nobody listens to you because you 5 and 6 years old and you take your little hot ass back to bed. And but that man. And so you never had anybody to really believe that. And of course, your mom and your dad not, you know, y'all best friends, y'all work together. But you can't believe that how we know to even make that up.
Right.
You've never heard us say that at Granny's house. You never heard us say that ever before. So I don't know if my mama died believing that she should have told me she believed me or not, because me and her relationship was kind of lovable, but exchanged a little bit. Just
Did you feel like she had to be more committed to your dad in that relationship and take his side than to protect you?
yeah, I do, because you could hear him if you say anything about any of those friends, and being the woman in that moment in the early 60s, you really didn't have the voice like you have today anyway, right, with your husband or another man, because you got to stay in your place.
Right.
I mean, we still got to stay in our place, but not like that. And I think she kind of wanted to believe it, but I think that vodka bottle had her a little more than I had her. And we just went on through it and went on past it. But what I know and I remember is I could look that man in his eyes and not say nothing, and he know what he have done to me, just the way I stared at him. And I really, really wanted to say something to him, but I was scared. Right. You see what I'm saying? I never forget you coming in the room and turning the light off and pulling the cover off of me and pulling my little beady panties down, because them little beady panties at 6 years old, and I peed on myself, because I can remember him coming toward my face with that grushy beard that was scratching me. And you can't say nothing, and then everybody, music is loud, whiskey bottles clacking, everybody dancing, cussing, and singing. So you don't even hear the little bitty girl over there in the corner crying in that room with the door shut. So it's like...
So the peeing yourself, was that a defense mechanism to get him to go, okay, back away, right?
Yeah.
Good for you. That's very smart.
I know. And so that's what I'm saying. Even at that age, I was like different. I mean, it was like I know something that I shouldn't know. I know when I'm supposed to know this. And the time it started hitting my sisters is when I kind of started knowing that I can get them off of my sisters. I can hear my sisters and them screaming. And when I hear them screaming, I know what they're screaming about. And so when I get to the room and see one of them come out of the room, I already know what they've been doing. So one night, I deliberately slept in there with my sister and them to say, leave them alone.
Protect them.
Touch me. Don't bother them ever again. Whatever you need to do, you do it to me. Not my sisters now. And right today, my sister who just passed, been 2 years now, I believe that's why she mentally just psyched out. Yeah. I really do. I can never prove it. We never went and got no help. We never was able to tell nobody, but I do believe it traumatized her so bad,
of course,
that she never came back to a normal sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
how long did this go on in the home?
It went on in the home with me till I was about 8. I was about 8 years old, and I think after that it's because I had started drinking. See, my mom then would tell me all the time, go get them a beer or go get the liquor out of the refrigerator or something. So it come to a time that I started popping the beer for them and taking drinks out of it before I get it to them, because I know these
7 years old, 8 years old?
Yeah. So when I tell people I started drinking at 7 and 8, started smoking cigarettes at 10, started really getting sexual active at 12, and then getting snatched into that sex trafficking part. So that was because I felt like I was already experienced. So I already knew what to do. I already knew what they was going to do to make me do something. So in order to keep from getting hurt, beat, or whatever, I'm going to do what they need me to do, keep from coming back to helping my family. So once I started drinking, they were surprised that I was like I said, about 6 or 7. When I really started drinking liquor, it didn't burn. It didn't do nothing. It didn't make me sick or anything. And so all they would say is she took it after her daddy because my daddy was a straight alcoholic.
Right.
And they would say it as a joke. So I would just keep drinking it because it never bothered me. But what I found out is when the next dirty old man come to me, I didn't feel nothing. I didn't really know nothing. I was just in a whole nother
You were numb.
world. Yeah, numb, just in another world. So when I found that out, I really kept gushing until I can find out how I can get out of that and what I can do. And I think the way I got out of that one with the dirty old men's is I started saying either, because we kept getting our lights cut off. We kept always have to be without food. So it was like I started propositioning. You know, you either pay to get my mom's lights back on or my mom's rent, or I'm going to tell everybody what you're doing to me and my sisters.
So
I was
bribing them.
bribing them,
Yeah.
manipulating them, whatever,
Yeah, sure.
at that age.
Right.
And it worked. It worked. That they started helping my mom. And I mean, every month, you know, we'll be either moving or our lights out because my dad gave the rent or light money to the liquor store. And so when we moved again to another set of project just around the curve, which is just called South 8th Court, that's when the perpetrators came in with the sex trafficking part.
All right, so tell us about this. So I'm sorry, it's a lot, and
It is a lot,
I
so
love
I'm
you,
just cutting, I'm
right,
just
you know,
cutting.
and it's a lot to take in, and you know, we've known each other for almost 10 years now, and
Yeah.
just to hear the depth of the story still just breaks my heart. And I think about my 3.5-year-old son, and
Yeah.
I wanted to protect him, and just what you wouldn't do just to protect your kid, and just it just
Yes.
breaks my heart for the 5-year-old
Yeah.
Clemmie. I'm so sorry
Yeah.
for that.
Thank you.
So talk to me. So the sex trafficking. So
Well,
you
that,
were-
you know, that's happening today, and I want people to know that.
yeah.
It's men. When in my era, it was men we thought was coming from church, you know, missionary. They come and bring you food, clothes, and stuff. So these men would come to the hood and bring, you know, clothes, shoes, jewelry, and buy you food. So you think, you know, oh wow, you know, it's the church folks. And so, you know, when they say, would you like this little dress, or would you like these shoes and or this necklace? And we never had nothing. Like, I mean, we had clothes, but not clothes that we wished we had.
Right.
And when you see something that cute, you like, yeah, I want it, you know, especially me. I want it. And so when I take the dress and the necklace, I think nothing else about it. And then 2 weeks later, come around, the same men's come back, and then they come back to me and say, I owe them now for the dress and the necklace. And I'm like, I can't even work.
Right.
You know, I'm 12. And they didn't take that lightly. And I didn't know what they meant. And so one day they followed me to a store, got me in a car. Well, they snatched me in the car. They didn't get me in the car because I was trying to run. But anyway, they snatched me in this car. And they put something on my nose. And next thing I know, I woke up in a room with a lot of young girls downstairs. They was handcuffed to these poles. And I knew I was in trouble. I knew I was. So they had already handcuffed me and put me on a bed. You know, they handcuff your hand and your feet, put me on the bed. They strip you. And then they shoot you up with what I know now was liquid cocaine. So you can't move, you can't do nothing. So when I tell people all the time, quit talking about why they didn't get away, why they didn't run.
Right.
You are drugged up and you're gagged up. And so what happened is, I think that in my memory, what I could say happened is when the men started doing stuff to you, you can't do nothing. And I'm used to the men's doing stuff to me. But when the woman came and started doing stuff to me, I threw up everywhere. So when I threw up everywhere, they like, cut that bitch loose. I'm messing up their furniture, I'm messing up everything. So when they cut me loose, and I fell to the floor, so I tried to run. I tried to run up them steps to get back to the door, and that's when they hit me in the head with the pistol. So that's how I ended up with the 16 stitches in my head. When they cut my hair, they be like, Miss Greenlee. I'm like, no, go ahead. You know, it's okay. Go ahead.
Battle scars.
Battle scars.
Battle
Yeah,
scars,
yeah,
right, yeah.
yeah. So after that, it was just downhill.
So how long were you in? I would say, abducted, right? How long were you in that place, chained up?
So I was in that place for about 3 days because my mom and everybody in the neighborhood know I'm everywhere. I was just a wild child, period. And still had no schooling, no teaching of how to be um a good citizen, really. So I'm running around already with the wrong crowd. So after the 3rd day, I kind of like seduced one of the guys, like really caressing him and making him believe that I'm coming back. I just need to go home. And he let me go. So when I went home, nobody believed you. I'm trying to tell them to come. Let me show you this house. They got all these girls in it. But nobody, I don't know why. People they just don't believe you. And so what happened
They don't want to believe, I think. They don't want to believe.
They don't want to believe.
They don't want to believe.
So I think really after I went home and I got pregnant, and once I got pregnant, they were still there. Them same men were still there at the hospital following me. And so the first thing they say to me is, if you say anything, we know where your mama work at, we know where your dad work at, and we know where your sisters go to school at. And I tell people, when girls say this today, they are telling the truth. Right. They say that and they know that. And if you don't watch them do what they did to you, you already know that they're going to do that to your sister or your mom or your dad. So once I had the baby, gave the baby to my mom and left because I don't want nobody coming to the house doing nothing to my drunk parents.
Okay, so let me stop you for a second. You got pregnant. Do you know where and how you got pregnant?
I really don't. I think that's
how far along were you when you realized you were pregnant?
Probably about 5-6 months.
Got it.
Because I didn't know what pregnancy were, and all I knew was my stomach just kept getting big. Like then I'm going around asking everybody what something going on with my stomach. My stomach keep getting big. And then finally my mom, after she done sobered, told me she needed to take me to the doctor because she think I'm pregnant. And I'm like, but Mom, I can't be pregnant. Like who I'm pregnant by? How?
I'm not pregnant. I'm 12 years old.
I'm
right.
I don't know who I'm pregnant by, but so I was pregnant, and I thought maybe that would help me get out of that lifestyle and find a lifestyle, but it didn't. I mean, that having the baby and ended up right back in the streets and right back with the sex trafficking, being sold, going to juvenile, and being arrested for prostitution at 13 to 14 years old. It was like devastating, scary. And the more I just got off into it is after they kept giving you so much drugs, you want the drugs now because you don't know how to function without the drugs.
Well, when did you stop going to school? Where did school play into any of this?
I don't even remember school. My brother asked me the other day, he said, Clemmie, you remember the last school you went to? And I told him, I said, I don't even remember the first school I went to because we went in and out of so many getting put out. Like every 30 days you change schools. So I probably went to about 15 schools in 1 year because of how we have to move. Right. Now this lady, only thing I kind of remember, I think I was like in the 3rd grade, 2nd or 3rd grade. And I remember this teacher, I never forget it. I remember this teacher getting me out of the classroom and taking me in a bathroom in the closet and washing me up. Because she said I smelled like urine. I smelled pissy. My clothes was pissy. My clothes was dirty. And she gave me a bath and washed me up. I'll never forget it because I was so embarrassed. I was crying. And it still stays with me right today. And then the other time I remember school is I won the 2008 Nashville of the Year, and a teacher got in touch with me and said she saw it on the news or something and got in touch with me and said she got a picture of me at 10 years old. And I said, a picture of me at 10 years old in school? She said, yes. I said, did I have on clean clothes? She said, yeah, your shirt was pretty and white. I wore my hair combed. She said, yeah, you had a ponytail with some bangs. And then I said, who bought me? She said, your mother. my mother bought me to take a school picture. She said, yes. I said, was my mama drunk? She said, well, Clemmie, we're not going to go into that.
Right.
But for her to say that, I mean, my mama wasn't sober.
Right.
But she bought me. So she met with me and gave me a picture of me standing there at 10 years old with a smile on my face and a head full of hair with some bangs.
So was it like a school picture?
Yes, with all of the kids, and I'm standing there in between them, and my shirt was white. It was clean, and I was like, so I took a picture at 10 years old in a school that I don't remember, and then from 12 on up, I ended up in sex trafficking. That just don't make sense. I ended up my life spiraled out of control from sex trafficking to juvenile to jail to 20 years facing for intent to commit murder, for prison. And I'm still out here at 42 years old. I just can't put my life together. So at the last end of the sex trafficking part, I was like 38. I didn't get out of it. I aged out of it because they still had control of me, especially now because of the drugs. So I needed drugs. Now you don't pump me in so much drugs. I need you. So in order to get the drugs, I got to do you this favor. And I'm going to do you this favor because I want them drugs. My body hurting. Right. And so the last time that I felt like I'm done is I tried to run one more time. And that's when I got stabbed in the back. That's when I got this 8-inch stab wound in my back. And so I feel like I was going to die. And I was happy because at least I know I'm through with all of this. But I didn't die.
So let me ask you about that picture. The picture. What did that mean to you emotionally when you saw that picture?
Oh my God! I cried with joy, anger, suspicion. How could I have that smile on my face? Why am I always some sort happy? And I just feel like I had a terrible life. Is it because I knew my mom loved me unconditionally? I knew she did, but she didn't know how to protect me. So where's all of this coming from? How could I stand there at 10 with a smile on my face like that? After going through what I went through in my home, did I get molested that night and had to come to school and smile? Or is the smile just been stuck on me from the vibe from beyond that I didn't know about?
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to think about that. I don't remember the picture. I don't remember that teacher, but
yeah, it's really interesting. I don't have a lot of pictures of me as a child, and I don't know why, because I'm the youngest of 4, and there's a bunch of pictures of my 3 older siblings.
Okay.
So you think, okay, cameras were around then, but there's not a lot of me.
What call your school?
Yeah,
last school you went to?
Well, so I went to On-Site a few years ago, this program outside of Nashville is a emotional recovery thing. And one of the things they talk about there is who's taking care of little David, who's taking care of little Clemmie, right? And to try to put yourself back to who you were, right? And And so I found that picture. Yeah, that's the only picture that exists that I know of me at about 3 years old. That's little David. And so,
wow.
So I had.
Well, you look like the little dude.
Yeah, he does. He does look like Jonah quite a bit, right? And so I had 5 copies of those made, and just put them, at my office at work, my office here at the house, and in several other places, just as a reminder that every day, think about little David and who's taking care of that little kid that's inside, So
I don't even know.
So you had your baby. What was your relationship with your son?
Oh Lord,
after he was born, tell me what that was like.
That's hard. It's really hard.
When you're a little girl and you've got this little baby that your mom's taking care of, or whoever he's staying with, how would you interact with him when you were in and out of this lifestyle? What was that like?
I don't think I knew or felt it was my baby. I didn't know what that attachment felt like. I didn't. I love my mom, but I wasn't attached to my mom, if that makes sense. So I come in and like being happy to see the baby, pick the baby up, change the baby, feed the baby. All that wasn't in me. I didn't have none of that. Or I'd probably say a few things to him, pinch him on the jaw, kiss his forehead or something, and I'm gone. I didn't have an attachment to him. And I think I left, when I left that day and I came back, wherever came back from means, Rodriguez was probably 4 or 5 years old. So I remember him standing in the back of my uncle's truck with a big afro, no shirt on, and always flexing. And they kept saying, Clemmie, your son look just like you, a head full of hair. And I was like, yeah, he do, don't he? But I wouldn't do nothing but probably just go over there and give him a hug and walk on off with the rest of the crew. It just wasn't no attachment there.
Yeah.
So I can't say what that felt like to me. I didn't know what to feel like to be a mom. I didn't know what I know now as how to have treated him as my son. And so really time he got probably 12, 13, 14, I come back around again. Because remember, I'm still getting snatched, getting pimped, getting sold, getting whatever, drugged, homeless, junkie, and all that by now. So when I come back around, he 13, 12, 14, I don't know what to tell him other than how to work the streets, how to rob, how to pimp, how to steal, how to sell drugs. I mean, I didn't know nothing to tell him about school. I mean, I didn't know none of that. So he came up to me with a handful of money, a gun, and drugs, and said something to me. And I said, boy, if you gonna try to live like this, you let me show you the ropes. I do remember saying that to my son.
That's a way to protect, right?
Yeah.
Pass it down.
Because I felt like he's out here, he don't know what he's doing, and he done watched us grow up with all the so-called supposed to be gangsters in the family, and now he want to be one. So I'm not gonna let him go out there unarmed and uneducated on the streets. So it was like, sit your ass down and let me show you the ropes. Right. And I taught him everything. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. In my men's group on Saturday, somebody read a quote. It was from an author by the name of Brennan Manning. Wrote a book called The Ragamuffin Gospel. And his quote was, we make our decisions based on how much we love someone or something, right? And we had this big discussion around it. It was like, I don't know that that's a true quote, because I can love my parents and still not do what it is they asked me to do. I can love God and still break it. It feels more like the quote should be, we make our decisions based on how much we value that relationship. Wow. Because if I value that relationship with my parents more than I value going and getting drunk, right? I'm going to make a decision of the thing that I value more. But if I value drinking more, then that's the decision I'm going to make. And that really shows where our priorities are. So, so it's Rodriguez?
Rodriguez, yes.
Rodriguez, your son. So let's fast forward. You mentioned briefly this night that you were stabbed, right? And tell us a little bit about that story, and then what happened after you got out of the hospital.
Well, it was another sex trafficking event. Thought I was going to a birthday party. You know, some girls invited me to it, and we got there, and you know, the girl had all these robes laying out because it's a girl night. So we all get out our clothes and put on the robes, and have fun, just have fun. But at the time of everybody getting into their role, these men start coming out of these rooms. And she kept hollering, I'm sorry. They made me do it. So she done lured me and about 3 more women in her home, thinking we just finna have the girls' night out. And so what happened is when they would pick the girls, they won't. And me and this other girl was the last 2 left, because it was 5 of us. We was the last 2 left. But just hearing all of that beating and screaming and stuff that they were doing to them, it was just bothering me. It was bothering me. So, of course, I'm trying to look around and find out how to get out of there. And I reached for the door to run out of there, and got caught again and got stabbed in the back with a beer bottle. And so that caused them have to call the ambulance. So that means everybody left me there. So the ambulance, when they got there, I woke up, I was in ICU, and I was like, man, I just knew I was dead. But after I got out of there, you would think that it was over with for me, but it wasn't. It was in a way, because I'm like, I don't want to die like this. I don't want to die being in sex trafficking. I don't want to die being a junkie, and I don't want to die not having no one around me that I feel special with. So I kept trying to change my life. Then I started going into rehabs. I started going into these rehab recovery programs, but I would leave. I would always leave and go right back to the streets. And so this last episode, I think I was probably 38. And I went to another event, another party in Dixon, and the same thing happened. Well, I didn't get stabbed this time. I'd already been stabbed, but the same thing happened when men came out of this room and we supposed to do this. So this time I made it to the door, ran through these woods and these bushes and these swamps until I saw that light. You know, you see that light when you're in the dark. And I ran to that light and got to the store, and I was buck naked because the robe and everything had come off. So when I got in the store, the little lady screamed and went behind the counter and got her jacket to put on me and called the police. So, they took me to jail, but they took me back to that house first. And that bothered me, because I never told them where I came from. I didn't even know where I came from. But the police took me back to that house.
So how'd they know?
Like they know now. They're a part of it. They got stock in it. They got money in it. And that's what got me right there. When I said, how did he know to take me back to that house? Because I never said nothing, never gave an address, because I didn't even know. And then when they took me to jail, they kept me in jail for 6 days without letting me get a phone call or anything. I'm in Dixon, Tennessee now. Right. We talking about the early 70s, 80s. And so they wouldn't do nothing but give me water and peanut butter the whole 6 days. And there was one white girl come through there, because they give out them books. And she said, if you give me a number and put it in your tray, I promise you I'll call somebody for you. Now, I wanted to do it, and I was scared, because once you go tell them, I'm through. But I got the chance. I got to get out of here. They ain't not going to let me know nobody that I'm here. So I put the number on my mama in the phone, in the peanut butter sandwich, when she came and got my tray. And the next day, my uncle and a friend of his was there to get me out of jail. And so that right there just kind of gave a switch to me, that not only I'm not going to never get out of this, or the system is a part of this, and somebody got to do something to break the cycle. So I did it one more time to try to get out of the sex life, selling my body and all of that. And one of the men almost choked me out. I was like 2 seconds, David, from dying. You can feel it now. I see when they talk about strangulation, right. I can feel it. But what happened when I talked to him and letting his thumb go off of my neck, and stabbed him. And I stabbed him 5 times, and I just knew I had killed him.
Now, where were you? How did you come to be with this man at this point? And what did you stab him with?
Because I thought I was through after I done saw what happened to me in Dixon.
Right.
But I wasn't. I'm just a junkie now, and I need drugs. So I always kept a knife. My dad taught me how to use a knife. So I always kept a knife or a switchblade. So I had a knife. And so I had let him lure me into his van because I always get thrown out of cars and all that. So that wasn't new. That wasn't nothing new to me.
Right.
And so I had talked to him. He had talked me into getting in his van. So we go in the back of the van, get ready to do our little transaction. And I do my transaction without getting the drugs. And that's always a no-no.
Right.
And so when we finished, he was like, I'm not giving you nothing, get up out of here, blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't going for it. That was my last peak. It was like 2 a.m. And when he started choking me and stuff, he was choking me and I was trying to get to my pants to get my knife out. And when I finally talked to him and like, okay, we'll do it again, whatever. And the more he was choking me and I'm started trying to tell him, and then I just started rubbing on his face and he kind of like looking at me like, okay, she probably will do it again. So once he let his thumb off of my throat, and I stuck the knife in him. So when he rolled over, like off of me, then I just started sticking him again. And that's how I ended up with this aggravated assault charge. It was intent to commit murder. But they kept me in prison. That's how I ended up in the women's prison, because they wanted to charge me with murder. Now, we on North 2nd Street. I never forget it. So I never made it back to my son. I never made it back to my mom. I never made it back around none of my family members. I went straight to jail from there and stayed in there for about 9 months until he died. They wanted him to die, and so they can charge me for murder. And so he didn't die. After 7 to 9 months, they got to come and change that charge and give me a bond. So what happened, the judge wanted me to go to this man. So they took me to him. He was still in the hospital. He done woke up. And when we got to him, the police took my hair and put my head in his face, and he said, "That's not her." They said, look at her again. And he said, "It's not her." And
and why do you think he did that?
I think number one, I don't believe he knew I was going to stab him.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, just how I guess I was talking to him when he was trying to kill me. Instead of just panicking, I was just trying to talk to him. You don't want to do this. You're going to jail. I'm just talking to him. And I just feel like he just had some kind of revelation during his little moment that he almost died. And so when they done that, they had to drop the charges of murder, but they still kept the aggravated assault with the intent on my record. And that's why I'm doing this right today, trying to do a pardon for Governor Lee before he leave out, to get this charge off of me, because I can't do nothing.
Right.
I want to work for schools. I want to drive the school bus. I want to be in there with the baby kids, and I can't. So when I got in jail that last time, this is summing all this up, I saw some of my friends, some of the girls that was in that basement, and some of the girls that was on the street with me this last time. I'm 42 years old now. And when I got in there and I saw all of that, it just hit me. Somebody got to break this cycle. There's nobody going to ever come and save us, because we all keep coming back and forth, back and forth. Nobody's looking at us. We hoes, we junkies, we prostitutes, we scum of the earth, we nobody, nobody's family, nobody. Now, my family didn't feel like that toward me. I chose not to go around them like that because I was ashamed. But some of the family people did feel like that toward their family. And I said, if nobody gets out of here and stop coming back, ain't nobody gonna be able to save us. So I always heard a saying say, you always talking about things need to change. Somebody need to do something. Won't you do it? And it hit me. Yeah. Won't you do it? So, wow, thank you, Jesus. So this last time I got out, I called at that time she was the resident of the Magdalene program, Thistle Farms. And I called her and asked her, would she come and get me and put me in rehab? And she came and got me out of the crack house. I was in the crack house. I did make the phone call, but I still went back to the crack house. And she came and got me out of the crack house. And I'll never forget it, March 2001. And she come and put me in the Magdalene program, the two-year recovery. And I stayed the whole 2 years, even though I stayed on restriction for 6 months of it, because I didn't know how to take authority figure. I didn't know how to, I didn't know how nobody tell me what to do, but I know I didn't leave. And I was determined that I'm going to come back and get these girls. Well, half the girls got killed while I was in there. But even though when I keep saying I'm going to get them girls, in my heart, I'm still going to get those girls that was in that attic with me, in that basement with me. And so that's what made me just want to keep on going with the women, with the girls, with the moms. And then that's when I graduated, and they called me to tell me that I graduated 2003 in March. And I got that phone call about my son. At that time, he was 29 years old.
And what was the phone call about your son?
That he had been murdered. So my first thing was, when I got out of rehab, let me go find him so I could show him. Now I know how to be a mom. I know what to do. Let me put him in rehab and help him through this. But I thought I was gonna have enough time to take him to rehab, but I didn't. He got murdered. Like maybe that Saturday we saw him, and to let him know that I got some people that's finna help me, because he was gone. He was gone. I mean, drugged out, all of that, like his mama. And so I said that Saturday that I'm coming to get you Monday to take you to rehab, and I'm gonna stick with you the whole way. And he was happy about it. And so when the phone rang Monday morning, I'm like, that's him, y'all, that's him. And but when I answered the phone, it was Vanderbilt telling me to come to the hospital because my son been shot. But when I got to Vanderbilt, he hadn't been shot. He'd been murdered. He died on the scene in the middle of the street. And so that took me guilt trip 99, you know.
So now you have a choice to make at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've had a coping mechanism that you've had since you were a little girl with alcohol and drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just getting out of a 2-year program.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the decision that you had to make at that point.
Oh my God. Ooh, woo. I'm gonna say that was one of the craziest, hardest, weirdest decision I had to make, because I'm hurt with guilt because it's my fault. You know, if I knew how to raise him, he probably wouldn't be dead. Number two, I got all these people here with liquor, drugs, pills, all kind of stuff to help me soothe my pain, not my guilt, my pain.
Sure. Numb again.
Yeah. And then number three, I got everybody standing here that had helped me those 2 years. That was like rooting for me. Clemmie, you can do it. You can get through this. You can do it. So it's like that eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing, you know, like forget it. You know, he took my only child. You know, I can't have no more kids. I would never forgive myself. You know, I wasn't there for him. And all of a sudden, it hit me back what I said in prison. Somebody got to get out of this circle to break the cycle.
Amen.
And I got out of
Amen.
it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
And I went over here to the little 3 people that was rooting for me, because it was 50 to 100 with the dope, the pills, and ready to get me back on the street and all that. But it was 3 of them over there telling me I could do it. And I looked over there to them and went over there to their side. And so that's when Becca came to me and told me, don't worry about nothing, that the Magdalene wanted to pay for the funeral. And that helped me a lot, because I know we didn't have no money, you know. And once she done that, that was it. It was over. There was nothing else to talk about. And plus, to be real honest and add that on there, I did not want my son to die like that in the streets and his name be in vain. And by me going back out acting a fool, going back on drugs and all that because of him getting murdered. He wouldn't have wanted that. He saw me clean.
He'll just be a statistic. But now, right? But now he can be your inspiration for all the work you do for everybody else.
He saw what I was doing. He came to some of the events. He was proud of me. And the best thing could have happened is, it was at the wrong time, but it was the best thing, that the girl showed up with a 10-month-old baby and said it was my grandson. And so, of course, we were like, how can you bring a baby to a funeral and say it's her grandson? That, you know, that's low down. Wait a minute, hold up. let's get a DNA, let's see.
Yeah.
And so we got the DNA, and it was his son. So it was like almost I got a second chance.
Another chance, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, God
to do by
redeems.
him that what I didn't know how to do by him. But he's 21 now, and he still give you a run for your money, but he's good.
Right, well, he's your grandson. Of course he's
Yeah.
going to give you a run for your money.
Yeah.
Feisty.
He's good. Look just like my son, so it kind of like really helped me build myself and my confidence back
Right.
up, and really say, I want to help now. I really want to help.
So the Magdalene program that saved your life, that's part of Thistle Farms, correct? And Rebecca that you're talking about, right? I'll never forget the first time I met you when you were telling me the story about Rebecca and Thistle Farms. You said she gave me a hug before she gave me a bath.
Yes,
And
because
that's always stuck with me. What a powerful line.
that was, I think that's what helped me with the hugs.
Right.
Everybody I see, whether they coming from behind the bush or they coming from the White House, I get a hug. But when she came, we was at a St. Augustine's church. I never forget it. And little old priest coming around, and I'm looking for all the robe and the collar and all that, and she just had on regular clothes. And I was like, but I thought you said she was a priest. I was saying that to Regina, and she said, that's her. And I'm like, oh, okay. Had on little short shorts and all that, and look, flower behind her ear. And that was back in the peace days, I guess. And so when she just stood there and looked at me, just very innocent, just very young and innocent, and she just held her hand out. And I didn't know if it was holding her hand out to do Holy Mary, pray for me or what. And she said, I want a hug. I had just come in and just been thrown out of a car. So I had a broken arm, broken hand. That's when I would never let them put that bone back. That's when I can't never close my fist up. All my side of my face was gone, rolling on that concrete. And I ain't no telling when I had a shower in my clothes. And I'm like looking at her like, you want to hug me now? Like,
Amen.
who do that?
Yeah, she does. That's
She
amazing.
does.
But that's the imprint, right? Those are the things that imprinted on you and have helped you to create this incredible organization. So
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about Nashville Peacemakers and Moms Over Murder. So Nashville Peacemakers is actually part of Galaxy Drug Awareness, right? Is the official name of your 501c3. What is the primary focus of what you do with Peacemakers?
So the first primary focus was getting people off the streets, getting them off drugs. That's how it became Galaxy Drug Awareness Program. And so we had houses to bring them in, love on them, didn't charge them money, just help them get from rehab back into another house so they won't go back to the streets.
Kind of like a halfway house.
Like a halfway house, yeah. And so that went on for about 6 years. And then all of a sudden, the murder stuff started happening, and mothers start calling me saying somebody gave them my number because they heard that my son had been murdered before, and how did I get through with it? I'm like, honey, that was in 2003. This is 2007. And so I ain't think nothing else about it. I like played it off that, I'm not the one, can help you with that. But one night, and I keep telling myself, I don't think I was asleep, that my son just came up in the top of the ceiling in the corner and just said, he said, Mom, what about my homies? You helping everybody else, but I asked you if anything, and he did. He said, I asked you if anything happened to me, promise me you'll take care of my homies, my homeboys, my peeps. And I was like, boy, what is that? Get on up out here. That's when he was living. He asked me that.
Right.
But I didn't know that language. And I'm like, boy, I don't know hear that old crazy talk. And he said, I asked you, what about my homies, my peeps? You taking care of everybody but them. You're not looking out for them. And I was like, I raised up and I was like, what the hell? And so I still didn't think nothing about it until probably about a week or two later, it hit me. All them people, all them boys that was at his funeral, those was his homies, his peeps, his homeboys That's who he was talking about. I need to look out for them. And then when the second shooting came and the mother called me and I said, yes, can we meet? And once I met her and she said, I need somebody to talk to help me get through the murder of my son. And I was like, okay, I could talk to you on the phone and stuff like that. And didn't know nothing about this coming to fruition. And then my nephew, my baby sister, my nephew, 18-year-old nephew was murdered in 2014. And that right there that started the moms group. Because I was in New Orleans. I had to come back from New Orleans. I'm down there trying to help with sex trafficking. Remember that. I came back from New Orleans to get my sister because I knew she was through. She was what we call a soccer mom. Mm-hmm. She was there for all three of her children on everything. And I know she was destroyed. And I had to get here to her. And so when the lady called me about her son, I told my sister, I need you to come. To be here with me. It wasn't nobody but me, her, and the young lady. So I'm at my kitchen table, just getting donuts, pizza, coffee, whiskey, whatever they needed at that time. And then she asked me, she know a friend of hers, can she come? And 6 months later, my grandson's brother, not from my son, but another one, he got murdered. So then that made me now got to go get my grandson, or he ready to go do some retaliation. But his mother, she done lost it. So I got to keep her in line because he need her. And now I brought her to the group, and that's when it became a program. Mothers Over Murder. Yeah. Became a program in 2014.
So how many moms have participated in Moms Over Murder now?
Oh my God. I got well over 50 here in Nashville. I got like 20 in Murfreesboro. I got like maybe 12 to 14 in Memphis. And now I'm on my way to Chattanooga.
It's a beautiful thing you're doing for a horrible reason, right?
I know, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
God redeems it. Talk to me about, do we know who murdered your son?
For 18 years, I asked who murdered my son, and when nobody tell me. And that was the crazy part about it, for real, David. Mm-hmm. I never heard any stories, anything, because I always said, tell me what he did. I mean, he was not a good kid. I mean, a bad kid, but everybody had their little ups and downs. Sure. But he wasn't that kind of kid. I can't say that. To get no shot in the back of no head. But anyway, I asked, did he rape somebody? Did he kill somebody? Did he smack somebody's grandmama? Did he sell some bad dope? I mean, just give me something to go on. For 18 years, I never heard nothing. No lies, no police, no nothing. And all of a sudden, this guy to be with me, he been with me for 5 years, helping me, work with me. And he said, Queen, I got a confession to make. And out of nowhere. And I said, okay. He said, I've been with you for 5 years, and all you keep talking about is you want to meet the man who killed your son so you can help him and his mother. And it bothered me. I wanted to do something to you. He said, because I want to kill that man. And I said, I know, baby. You and a whole lot more people. I said, but I don't. I said, I need to see him. I need to meet him and talk to him. He said, I know who it is. What you say? He said, I know who it is. He said he calls his nephew at my office every Wednesday, 11 o'clock out in Rivergate. And I just needed to tell you that. I'm like, so you finna let him know you talks to me, and can I come? Can I the next Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. He said, you want to come? And I said, yes. He said, well, let me see what he say. And he asked him, he said, I know Rodrigo's mother. And he said, you do? Do you think you can talk to her? You can see if she want to talk to me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so he asked to talk to me? Right. And he said, yes. So he sent it up for next Wednesday, 11 o'clock, and we were there. And he called and said, we have a collect call from, I can't say his name yet because I'm still waiting to meet him. So as soon as he answered the phone, the first thing he said is, he said, did she come? And I was like, wow. He asked, did I come? So he said, yeah, she's sitting right here. You on speaker. And he said, Miss Greenlee, my name is such and such and such and such. And the first thing I want to say is, I'm so sorry. Woo, Lord.
Hmm.
So he crying, I'm crying. And then he asked me, do I want to tell him what happened? I told him no, I don't want to relive it. I never heard nothing, so I don't even want to hear it. I remember signing some paper that if they ever found him, I don't want to come back to court. I don't want no charge. I don't want nothing. And then he asked me, he said, so tell me something that I could do to make you feel better. And I told him, and nothing he can make me do to feel better. But he asked me, is there anything that I would want him to do to take Rodriguez's place? And I said, well, you'll never take his place, but let me ask you this. This is one thing I do want you to do. And he said, anything, just tell me if I can do it, I'm going to do it. And what I did, David, is asked him, I want you one time, just one time, to call and tell me Happy Mother's Day. Because you took it from me. Because every year my son is there with Happy Mother's Day with that one rose and $1. You know, rather I didn't get it for 7 months because I'm still out in the streets. But that envelope with that $1 and that rose will always be there. And I said, I just need you to call me one time. Don't keep calling me. So when Mother's Day rolled around, he called me. And I was like shocked. I was really shocked. He called me. So by him doing that, it destroyed every hate, every part that I want him to suffer, you know, because you got connections in prison. I don't care because you ain't in prison. You got connections. So it wouldn't have been no problem for me to make that one phone call. Now that I know who it is, because everybody want to know who it is so they can still get him.
Right.
So I could have made that one phone call and told him who it is and I want something done to him. But instead of me doing that, I told him, I need you to make one phone call for me. He said, anything. So who am I calling? I said, me. I said, I want you to take my cell number. So we don't go through no 3-way and all that. I want you to take my cell number and I want you to tell me somebody's name, who I can put money on cash out. So I make sure you don't never go without commissary. Because you done became my son now. And I got to take care of you. So I can't have you in there with nothing. I know you ain't got nobody calling you because you said you've been in there for years. So you never got time for my son. He went scot-free because he was a big-time gangbanger and everybody was scared of him. So they wouldn't testify. So he in there for something else. So I asked him 2 more things. I said, how old are you now? And he said 52. So you're in jail at 52. And I said, where were you at 13 and 14? He said, I was in a group home. So ain't nothing else to talk about. And so he gave me, I think his niece maybe, cash out. And I put $100 on his book. I told him to call me at least once a month. Let me know you're okay. Now he asked me, was I ready to meet him? I said, no, I'm not ready for that yet. But eventually I want to maybe do something with him to try to help other mothers, you know, like do a little documentary, little film, something with me and him talking. I want to take maybe a picture of something holding his hand. I don't know. I just don't want that hatred no more because that's what destroyed my old heart.
Thank you. I was just going to go there. Real quick, how long will he be in?
I think I wrote a letter to the feds for him, and he got 7 years knocked off of his sentence. So,
7 years?
He was facing 20. he asked the lawyer to call me to ask me would I write a letter for him. And I did. I mean, I just didn't even think, like, I dare you. It just didn't. I said, ma'am.
You understand you are an unusually gracious and merciful woman, right? And I get that that's God in you, right? And that's second chance, third chance, fourth chance, right? But it is so unusual that you would have this relationship with the man that murdered your son.
I know, man. Me, gangster G. I mean, I don't know where it comes from. I just don't. So anyway, he should be down to probably about 2-something years.
So you brought up, and I know we're going a little bit long here today, but this
okay.
I'm
sorry.
This is it's beautiful. We know how trauma affects our body and affects our life, right? So just a couple of short years after I met you, we found out that you were having trouble with your heart, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Look at all I done carried.
Trouble with your heart, right?
That's light.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
It's been 7 years now?
6
6 years.
Well, let me say I'm in May.
7 years in May since you got a new heart.
Yeah.
Brand new heart.
Brand new heart from Texas.
Which I think is just so the metaphor, right, of the broken heart that you've had for so many things in your life that
and that's God gave you
me with. God's like, you're not done with you. Give you a new one.
Yeah, so I can continue.
So tell me about that. Tell me, I lived through part of that with you, but just the fact that you got the heart, and I know it didn't come to fruition, but I remember talking to you before you went in, and you were convinced that you were going to get a heart from some kid that got shot in Nashville, right? But you didn't. You got a heart from Memphis. You said
Texas. I'm still waiting to see who this is, but I was because of all the murder that was happening.
Right.
And I said, well, I'm gonna be able to get somebody who I done try to save out there in the street. That's what I thought. And they kept telling me I got 2 months on my old heart and I'm gonna die. So I was telling them, take me home, at least let me die at home. But I see you put me in, and I was too weak to even try to go home. And so they kept saying, Miss Greenlee, we trying. They kept saying they sorry. I'm like, no, I promise y'all, I'm gonna get a heart before the end of May. And then we talking about May. I'm in there since April the 5th. And I'm still hollering May the 5th. Oh, I'm going to get a heart. And then I think May the 10th came, and I was like, but I'm going to get a heart. I kept saying it. I did. I just kept feeling like. And so when they put me on the list, in maybe a week or two, they moved me to the top list that quick. And they don't do that. And I was like, okay. So then around about the 13th or the 14th, the nurse said, Miss Greenlee, as sick as you are, you still got that strong faith. I said, yes, ma'am. I'm going to get a heart. And so the 16th, around about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, one of the doctors come running in the intensive care room telling me that Dr. Bamboo is on his way to Texas to get my heart. He got on the plane himself to go get that heart. And he said, so you getting your heart before the end of May? I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. Now, y'all didn't say it, bro. He said, oh, wait a minute. Ye a little faith. I said, oh, no, baby, you can please that. I got my faith. I said, but now, now that it's here, I kind of got a little shaky. And so they had me in the operating room that morning. So that's why May the 17th is the day that May the 17th, 2018 is the day I received my new heart from Texas. That's all I know. I don't know who it is. Boy, girl, grandmama, uncle, granddaughter, I don't know yet. But I'm hoping I was able to write them last month because they said you got to wait a little longer. Now it usually be 2 to 3 years. But because they don't want all that motion on this new heart, because I ain't out of the woods yet. You get to that 10th year, you can kind of like say you out of the woods. And then they lost somebody. So you don't want to bring all that back on them. And I said, okay, I understand. But I do believe one day that somebody's going to contact me and want to meet me. And I don't care where it's at, I'm going. And so I feel like God gave me the second chance because he knew what I was doing with that first heart. It just wore out, giving out all that love, taking all that pain, taking all that torture, just taking on everything, but still had that smile on my face from that 10-year-old girl. And still willing to love, because even though my mom couldn't protect me, my mom showed us unconditional love. And the reason I say that, y'all, because I don't remember a house that we ever lived in by ourselves. Even though we moved every 30 days, I don't remember a house. My mom was a maid, so she hardly was home anyway. She was at their house scrubbing their toilets and their floors. So she hardly was there to raise us anyway. But she would always bring in stray people, stray animals. And I think that's why all of this stuff started happening to us.
Taking care of,
She was taking care of everybody else. And I know that rubbed off on me. Because now they like, Clemmie, do you ever have a moment in your home by yourself? And I was like, not really, don't want to. Right. I'm trying to find a house now so I can have people running in and out of.
Well, let me wrap us with one final. We were talking about your heart. Let's talk about the love story here. So a few years back, I had the privilege of being at your wedding, and you and David getting married, and just such an incredible story. Your whole life is such a story of God's redemption, and like every place you turn. But please just briefly, just tell us a story about how David and how you and David got together, and how how you reconnected. So tell us that.
Me and David was in the streets together too. So they would call us Bonnie and Clyde because.
In what year?
1998, 99, 2000, because that's when he got shot, 2000. They would call us Bonnie and Clyde, but they call him Shotgun David because he always carried the shotgun. That's how he robbed people. And just robbing dope men, just make it specific. It wasn't just robbing people. They always had to be a dope man. And so 2001, I always say we robbed the wrong dope man. And so when we got back to the house, we were giving people at the house dope to not say nothing about seeing us come in here. But evidently somebody gave them a little bigger piece than we gave them, and told them that we was upstairs. And the same people we just robbed. And they came up there and pointed the pistol at them and looked at me and said to me, "B, get your life together." And so I'm like, ugh. So when they looked over there at him, they shot him just automatically 3 times, just shot him. And blood went everywhere. And so I took out running because I'm going now across the street to my mom's house to call the ambulance. He's still up there, but everybody in the house left because this is a dope house, the crack house. Right. Nobody want to be there when the ambulance and the police come. And then you done heard somebody get shot, so you don't want to be there no way. Sure. So we all, everybody ran off and left them. And I got to my mom, to the ambulance, and when I come back out, I saw somebody laying in the middle of the street. Well, we did smoke so much dope, he don't really realize he was shot that many times. He just his drilling was going. And he even tried to make it outside, but he collapsed in the street on his face and just knocked all his little pretty white teeth out, knocked his jaw back up into his head. And I just laid in the street with him, rolled him over, and start beating on the street saying, "You better not down me. You better not down me. We're going to get him. We're going to trying to make him mad." So once I saw his eyeballs start moving, I knew then he hearing me. And so then when the ambulance started getting close, now I'm taking out running because I know they finna get me and question me, which they caught me. And anyway, did an 8-hour interrogation on me, but I don't even know who done it. I really don't. I wouldn't have said it no way because I just wanted to save him. But anyway, at the end of that day, I'll tell everybody, David went to ICU and I went to rehab. Because remember, early on, I said I called Regina to come and get me out of the crack house because I'm killing myself with drugs now. I'm scared they coming back to get me. So 2001, he went to ICU. I went to rehab and never looked back. One time, maybe 2 months within me being in rehab, somebody called me to let me know that his mama was trying to get in touch with me because the ambulance told her whoever that lady was in that street with him helped save his life by hollering at him, cursing at him, and beating on the street to him. Just kept him kind of alert. And she wanted to thank me. So I did come back. Regina brought me back because I ain't want to go by myself. I'm still weak for drugs. She brought me back to meet the lady, and she tried to pay me. She had an envelope full of money and wanted to pay me. And I'm like, no, ma'am, not, that's my boy. That's my ride or die. That's my Bonnie and Clyde. So after that, David said I took him to get some ice cream. He wanted some ice cream. I took him to get some ice cream. He wired up, said I was helping him with the straw in his mouth and everything. I don't remember that, but he described my car. So I did it. Now, once I pulled off, 2001, that was it. I never came back to my mama's house. I never came back to that street. I never came back to that community because I knew that was my weakness. And so never saw David again. And so like 2022, my sister, my niece, that's when the pandemic hit and all that. Everybody taking a second job. My niece took a second job in giving commissary to prisons, and she spotted David in one of them cells. And so I don't even know how she remember. She was about 11.
Right.
And she said, "Shotgun David." And he turned around and he said, "Who is that?" And then she said, "It's me, Quita, Clemmie's niece." He said, "Clemmie niece?" He said, "Man, I heard she got married." And she said, she said the B word. That bitch ain't got married. 615-589. Just gave out my number, right? And he called me on Thanksgiving of 2020.
And he's still in prison at the time.
Still in the prison. He called me on Thanksgiving 2021. And he said some things that I knew it was him. And then I called my brother, and my brother said, "Man, he's dead, Clemmie. I heard he got killed 5 years ago for robbing somebody. So, we're going to believe that because you live that life, you die that life." And no, my brother said, "Tell your brother this." So I told my brother one thing, and he said, "I be that. That's him." Because then but one person know that I did that or something. And so he said, "It's him, Clemmie. We got to get him. We got to get him." And I said, "I'm going to get him," because I always prayed for him. I wanted to know whether he was married or not. Is he okay? Is they treating him right? Even though we were doing bad stuff, but he was a good dude. He really was a respectful dude. He looked out for me, respected me, always tried to shield me from stuff when we finally got around him and before I could go on the other side. And anyway, once I saw who his judge was, and I knew half of them up there was Blackburn, and I called her and told her who I were, what I am to him, and then she gave me his probation officer number, and then she said, "I've heard of you. I'm gonna let you meet him in person at my office," and that was the first time I saw him in 20 years. He was skinny, scrunchy, drawed all up. And I said, "Boy, you need some beans, turnip green, macaroni cheese. You need all kind of stuff." But it was like a sight to see because this was my shotgun David. This was my shotgun David. And I told him, I said, "If your probation officer give me permission to be with you, then you ain't got to worry about it no more." I said, you're with me, Lonnie, and Lonnie's wife now, which is Regina. Right. The girl who got me off the street is my brother's wife now. Right. And so all four of us was in the street together, though. Remember that. All four of us was in the crack house together. All four of us was doing all this mischievous stuff out here together. And now look at all four of us now. So when he came and they started letting him come to me, I go get him out of the halfway house, keep him till it's time to go bed, take him around, show him stuff. He been in and out of jail 10 years on one sentence, he said. Then he did 7 years on another one. And this one he was doing 70 days. So he ain't really saw nothing. Right. So I'm like, oh, he was a fresh baby. So when I got him out and started showing him stuff, it was weird. He was like, "What is that? How you do that? How you put that?" I'm like, "Oh my God. We get to raise him up."
Right.
And
Get
so,
another son.
Yeah. And so my thing was, I want to marry him. It's been that long. I've always had a heart for him. We always been friends. And I know he ain't gonna know nothing about asking me to marry him because he probably feel the way I'm doing now. You know, he don't fit me. And so I just got him in front of one of my mom's group and got on my knees and asked him to marry me. And that's how we ended up getting married in April 2022. I said, I wait till I got 62 to say I do in 2022.
Right. That's amazing.
And that's why I wanted to marry him in the park.
Right.
Because I wanted to show him Hatley Park. I wanted to show him how proud I am of him. I thank God for bringing us back around 20 years. And then I wanted everybody who would want to come to Clemmie G wedding be able to come. That means my homeless people, my alcoholic people, my junkie people, everybody who they know that they won't let in that church. And so if I have it in the park, you can sit over there with your beer, you can sit over there with your pipe, you can sit over there with your prostitution, you can do all of that. But you're at Clemmie
Makes for a great
G.
reception.
Right. Yes.
All right. Well, it has been such
Lord.
a privilege for the last 10 years that we've been friends, and our Christmas Eves that we spend together with you and the moms have just been
You have
so
spoiled them.
well. It has been special, and it's such a privilege to be part of your family and to be your unk.
Yes.
And I love you so much. So thank you so much for being here and being on this podcast with me.
Yes, I am so amazed that you have a podcast. You deserve it, and I wish nothing but blessings to come this way. But you and your family gonna always be our family, always.
Amen. And for all of you at home, thanks again for watching another episode of the True West podcast. And as always, stay curious.
Thanks for joining the True West podcast. If you'd like more information on today's guest, please check below or see the episode notes. Until then, stay curious.